Hi everyone, I'm Juan Jose Silva and I'm going to introduce you to our third episode of Madcast. And like we have been doing, we have a special guest in this chapter. This guest is Omar Fernandez Obregon. He is a Colombian anthropologist who has been fighting for human rights in our country along with his life. Our guest has a lot of stories and experiences to tell us in this episode. He has been a member of the Franciscan community as a protector of the human rights in different NGOs, and currently he works in the national government. Along with his life, he has been working in social projects for different NGOs, humanitarian organizations, even for the national government and the United Nations on different topics, like the indigenous and poor communities, the migrants, and the human rights. He hopes to retire at the end of this year. Well, I think that I'm speaking so much. Better for I let Omar introduce himself and his achievements. Hi, Omar. It's a pleasure to get you here.
Hello, Juan Jose. It's pleased to me to be with you tonight, this day, and I'm willing to answer the question that you have.
Well, I learned that one of the main characteristics of the Franciscan order is to live the liberation theology. This liberation theology refers to a theology applied to the core concerns of the marginalized communities in need of social, political, or economical equality and justice. So, how do the Franciscans live this liberation theology?
Um, right, you're right. The question basically says that the liberation theology is a kind of a thinking uh, belong to Latin American um, research, especially in the area of the sociologists connect with the theology, because the liberation theology is a kind of mixed between the idea, faith idea of God, who is walking with the people through better lives, through justice, and also the theology has a resource of sociology, in part of Marxist thinking or theory, in terms of to have a knowledge what is happening in our society. And the both sides are very connected with the situation of the people who are suffering, who are oppressed, and theology and sociology together become a tool to to work with more efficiency in terms of change the reality, in terms of real changes in our society. And some Franciscans religious or Franciscans priests or brothers uh, take this theory, this liberation theology as a part of their lives in terms of inspiration. And this was not just theory, but it's also a kind of life of a kind of project, deep project of their lives. I don't know if it's clear for you.
Yeah, that is clear.
Well, the Franciscan are a religion dedicated to helping poor communities and indigenous communities that living away from the city. And why did you join the Franciscans? And after a long time of belonging to this group, why did you decide to withdraw or leave them?
Okay. In my first years as a young man, I worked. I be part of a Christian group for youth in terms of help in the church or try to work with some poor families, and from the beginning I feel like I have to dedicate my life in for people who are in suffering, and for this reason I was looking for some ways in order to dedicate my life for the poor people. And in the beginning, I thought that maybe if I became a doctor, a medical doctor could be a way, and I tried to looking for that possibility. But for different reasons, this possibility didn't work. And and you know, many situations in your life just arrive. You know, you don't decide, the situations just, you know, come to you and you have to decide, you know. And at some point, one member of this group in the church, which I was part, she told me that there was a possibility to go in order to work with indigenous people, the Arhuaco community in the Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta, and I decided to go there to work with them. And I met two Franciscans in at that time, and they told me that that if I was interested in help them to start a new project with the indigenous people in the Pacifico area, and I decided to go with them. This situation, this possibility became to me very nice. You know, I felt very inspired, and but I was at that time 19 years old, young man, and at that time you don't think too much. Just you know, you take decisions, and I took that decision, and I went with them, and this was the beginning. And then I lived with them, I worked with them, and 2 years later, I decided to be part officially as a member of the Franciscan community. That was the beginning, and that was the reason. In short words, is the reason is because I found that way as a way to serve the poor people, to work with people who are in suffering, and that way became to me my life. for more than 30 years.
And why did you decide to leave them?
I decided to leave them almost 10 years ago, basically because in my case, I tried to live my life very, very free. And when the things became little too much, when you felt that like the things are not good, you don't feel comfortable with the things that you are doing. I think it's time to put a question. This is still my way. This is the right place, or maybe there at some point of your life, you have other ideas, you have other feelings. And when I became 50 years old, after 30 years to be part of the Franciscan community, I felt that was, enough, and could be better to live my life in other ways. And it wasn't big issue. Many times some religious or priests, decide to left the communities because they decide married or have a girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever. But not it's not my case. In my case is because I don't feel very comfortable at that time. And I always think that you have to live your life very comfortable, or try to do the things comfortable or better as you can. And that was the reason.
Okay, I think that it's very important this part of your life with the Franciscans, and it's good to know the reason why you left of this group. So, Omar, you say that you have worked with the indigenous people. Can you tell us about which have been the difficulties to work with this community?
Yeah, it's not easy, to explain those difficulties, because it was almost 40 years ago. But I try to remember some things. The main issue that I can remember is you are part of an other culture. The indigenous have their own culture. And I was at that time, a Bogotan guy. I never left Bogota. I was 18 years old. Never, fly outside Bogota. And the life is very different in the big cities like Bogota, and a little community very far away, like the indigenous people live. And this was the more difficult thing: how to adapt, how to understand them, how they could understand you. And many times the message is not clear. They say something and you understand other thing. And I remember, for example, I was a teacher. I start in the first year. I start from the zero, one little school for little children, in the first years. And at that time, there was not even a house, not the students, not tables, no nothing. And I has to looking for all the students one by one, and then the house, and and I felt like I have not friends. You felt like that. That they don't see you as a friend. They don't. You are always are you know mm, 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 external people. You are not part of them, and you feel a little excluded of them, and many times you feel alone, or really rejected by them. But it's not the real thing. They have their own way to express friendship, and they have their own way to be friend. But you don't understand, and you feel very alone. And I feel many times I feel alone, totally alone. And I remember, some days I cried because I felt very alone. But then, became clear what is the real things. For example, when I left them, they gave me a lot of presents, and it surprised me very much, because I think, oh wow, they love me at some way. Yeah.
Thank you.
You have worked a lot helping indigenous communities, and we know that you are going to retire in 1 year. But in a future, would you work with the indigenous communities?
Right now, I don't think that I am going to work with them, as the same way that I did when I was young. Because when I was 20 years old, you feel a lot of energy. You have, many ideas, a lot of strong. You are a strong man. You don't think, about risk, about anything, and you just want to live. But when you are 60 years old, you think, a little bit more the things. And right now I am working with indigenous people, but in different way. I have a connection with them. I bring them some, advices in terms of projects, in terms of leadership, in terms of how to ask the government for, respect their rights. And I have a lot of connection, especially with the one community, which is the Senues. I don't know if you know the Senues in Cordoba and Sucre. And I have the connection with little communities. I I try to help them in order to bring some resources, economical resources, in order to invest in agriculture projects. And this is my connection. And this, at the same way, I am working right now with Black communities, with peasants, indigenous, youth groups in their. For example, I'm still working in Ciudad Bolivar with the women which are working for food process, food projects, um, and this is the way that I am working. And after I will be retired, I'm sure I will working with them in that way, because it's a kind of it's a project of life that this society has to be changed, and I am working until my last day of my life.
Okay, I think that is very good that you continue working with all these communities. And I have other question. We know that during your life you have been a full defender of human rights, and that there is full equality in our society. Also, clearly, even though you have helped with human rights, it is inevitable that this will sometimes be overlooked and ignored. For this reason, I would like to ask, how have you evidenced the violation of human rights in your life?
How I evidence this situation, right? Okay. I just like to say to you as example the last straight. You have the still the idea, the last straight in Bogota and other cities, which is called Paro Nacional, National Straight. Yeah. In the last straight, almost 300 people were disappeared, mainly young people. Many of them are still disappeared, and some of them were tortured, some of them were illegally detained, and this situation show you that the human rights are violated clearly, and many people all over the world made demonstrations on the streets in terms against this government, asking for respect the human rights, especially of these people, especially young people who were, mm, participate in this protest, which it was mainly known as a resistance, and the points of resistance, and even though the in those protests it could be has a the difficult to manage for the police, destroyed some bus station, or destroyed some public places. Every societies, at some points have to face this kind of situation. You could not kill all the people because they protest, or because they destroyed some public places. For this reason, the human rights are very important. It's a very important issue in terms of asking the government. You have to respect this democracy. You have to respect the law. You have to respect the life of the people, and you have to respect the human rights, as the all the world. No, this is an example, but this is just one example that many other things that are happening in Colombia. That 3 years ago, a peace process with the FARC movement was signed, and after the process was, after this process was done, and the agreement was signed, more than 300 people has been killed, and illegally, and someone has to say something. Someone has to fight for respect the life of the people and human rights defenders. Colombia is the more dangerous country for people who are working, for example, in issues that environmental issues, for journalists, for human rights defenders. Colombia is the largest country for displacement, internal displaced people, and those things, those items show you clearly that this country is one country where the human rights are violated every day, especially for people who thinks, in terms of opposition, or people who are thinking in a very critical way, and people who like change the situation. Against those people is commit those violations. I don't know if this is clear for you.
Yes, I think that is terrible the situation in Colombia. In very much cases, we can see the violation of the human rights. And I have another question. We have learned too that over the years you traveled to other countries like Canada and also Mexico. And also, this thought of defending human rights has been with you for a long time. After learning about all this about you, a question arose that we found interesting to compare the country of Colombia with other countries. Who is this? So, Omar, could you tell us in which countries are the violation of human rights most evident?
Yeah. Right now, the human rights situation is very difficult also in Mexico. This is a country which has a lot of troubles and problems in that thing. This is a very very famous case. Relate, I don't know if you have some idea, the disappear of 40 students in one college, and all the 40 students were disappeared. There are an idea that they were fired, they were you know tortured, and this is one case. But every day in Mexico is a very difficult country in terms of human rights in Latin America right now. In other times, Central America, especially Guatemala, and especially Guatemala. Guatemala was a very, very difficult, I think the worst situation in Latin America. Thousands of indigenous people were killed, were fired. There is a very, very important figure, which is Rigoberta Menchú, that was the Peace Prize, of Nobel Prize of Peace. Um, she wrote a book. My name is Rigoberta Menchú, and this is the way that my knowledge became, born my conscience. This is the name of the book. But she told us the whole situation of terror, how they live, the communities face this situation. It was very very terrifying. Mm, I think that in other countries in the world there is some things, that you could find that the situation is not good. In for example, in Russia, or in countries of in Africa, it's a very there are very difficult situation in terms of human rights. It's a big issue, because the human rights the human rights exist because the governments decide to put all the strength against the people, and this it happens in many places. And right now in Latin America, I think Mexico and Colombia are the two examples, the bigger examples that the situation is not good in terms of human rights. Okay, I was happy to talk with you. I hopefully that this could be good for you, and the experience for you could be good for your class. I told you my last conversation that over 10 of the last 10 years I had not practiced too much. This is my first practice in English in the last 10 years after I left Canada. For this reason, I don't feel very secure. I forgot some words, but the structure and the confidence is still, still there, and you could manage the situation, but not fluent as I want. Hopefully, you could understand. Hopefully, this will help you to finish your work in this matter. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Sadly, this is the end. Thanks to Omar for coming and talk with us. It was a pleasure to have you here with us, and thanks to you for watching us in a new broadcast of Madcast, and see you soon.
Psycho